Hello, everyone. Welcome to our podcast. My name's Brock with my co-host Hunter. Hunter, how are you doing today?
I'm doing fantastic, Brock. I'm really happy to be here with you. I'm really excited.
Me too. Today, Hunter and I are going to be talking some college football. Today, we're going to be talking about teams or a team that deserves to be in the Power Five conference, one of the Power Five conferences, and a team that maybe shouldn't be in the Power Five conferences. I've got my pick. Hunter's got his pick. We don't know who we picked yet, so that this is going to be a surprise for both of us for whoever we pick.
Sir, sir.
Um, yeah, I think we should just get right into it. Unless you had anything else you wanted to say.
No, I'm just excited to hear your thoughts on what I have, and I'm excited to hear what you have. And uh, yeah, I'm excited to be here with you,
Yeah.
Brock.
Hey, me too. Me too. Um, but real quick, I do want to say, in case you happen to be a college football fan but don't know the Power Five conferences, uh, we've got the SEC, we've got the ACC, we've got the Big 12, the Pac-12, and the Big 10. Those are our Power Five conferences. Those are like the big conferences most people focus on. So we're trying to pick a team that isn't in there that deserves to be in one of those, and then a team that is in there maybe shouldn't be in there. So my pick for a team that deserves to be, I've got my notes here, got some notes. The team that I picked, maybe not the very first choice, but just a team I really like and I think deserves to be in the Power Five. I decided to go with the Appalachian State Mountaineers.
Oh, baby, I was hoping you were going to say App State because I agree 100%.
Yeah. So I went back to 2015. Now I realize they're in the Sun Belt Conference. 2015 they went 11-2 with a bowl game win, and then 2016 for me is really the year that like App State starts to get some big coverage. Obviously there was that win. What was that, 2006 when they beat Michigan?
I believe so. 2006 sounds right.
Early 2000s win at the Big House against Michigan. But here they start to string more like consistent, great football. In 2016, they have a 10-3 record. This is when they went to Tennessee though, and they lost in overtime, 13-10. Now a loss, but Tennessee, big school, big stadium. Not scared of the moment. They forced overtime. They would later go on to win their bowl game against Toledo. Then 2017, they a little bit of a setback year, 9-4 record, but they lose to Wake Forest at Wake Forest 19-20. So again, a really close loss to a Power Five team. And then 2018, this is when they went to Beaver Stadium, our Penn State Nittany Lions, and they lost. This was number 9, by the way. Penn State was ranked number 9, and they took them.
It's a game.
Also went to overtime and lost 38-45. And this year, Appalachian State would go on to win the Sun Belt Conference 30-19 against Louisiana. And I believe in 2018, this was the first time they had ever been ranked, like nationally. So they were
Yes.
25. That sets history for Appalachian State. Again, only 25, but that's history. That's again they're building up since the previous year. We're going to jump ahead to 2019. They go 13-1 in 2019. Wins against UNC. Win against South Carolina. They go Sun Belt champs, and they win their bowl game. Again, Sun Belt champs. Apparently, it's just App State and Louisiana for the most part, because App State beat Louisiana again, the Sun Belt championship. And then 2020, the COVID year, so 9-3 record, but that's a little different. COVID had a tough time on a lot of the programs across the country. And in 2021, they go 10-4. They lose at Miami 23-25, and then they go to the Sun Belt Championship again, but they lose. And finally, here in 2022, a rough start this year, a 2-2 start. They just lost to a 4-0 James Madison team out of nowhere, but they did just beat Texas A&M 17-14. So to me, like,
Yeah.
again, consistent play against the Power 5 teams. They're not scared of the moment. They also just had that absolute shootout of a game, week 1 against North Carolina.
Game.
Week 1, there was Notre Dame at Ohio State. That was the highest selling ticket. And then Oregon playing Georgia. That's the second highest selling ticket. The third highest selling ticket, North Carolina at App State. So
Isn't that crazy?
yeah, it's insane. Like of all the other stuff going on, like those two, third highest selling ticket, or well, expensive that is. So yeah, any thoughts on that, Nisley? Any
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you 100% on App State. They've really turned into a really solid program,
Yeah,
especially the last 5, 6 years or so. You had mentioned about just the how competitive they've been, especially against Power Five teams.
yeah,
And of course, back in the day, they had that huge upset over Michigan. That was kind of the beginning of
yeah,
it. They really proved that they can hang with FBS teams.
yeah.
Now, don't necessarily expect them to be consistent top
No,
five teams like Michigan at the time.
no.
Uh, but yeah, they really proved at Penn State a few years ago. This year, even though like you said, they're 2-2, big win over Texas A&M. They had that really close nail biter with
Yes,
North Carolina. They were down huge,
yes,
huge, and they almost came back in the
yes.
fourth quarter. It
They
was
should have won that
unbelievable.
game.
Should have won. But yeah, App State's been really impressive. Plus, just the Sun Belt, that division, the Sun Belt in general, has
Yeah,
been really interesting
heating
with
up. Yeah,
App State, James Madison. I believe this is their first year in the FBS.
yeah,
They were a former FCS powerhouse, and they really were a top-notch program in the FCS too. With just they had a lot more money than some other schools to
sure.
fund football, which
Yeah,
helped a little bit.
yeah.
But Coastal Carolina is also in that same division in the
Mm,
Sun Belt with them,
yeah,
and it's really they've. It's interesting how the Sun Belt has poached some of these FCS teams that have become solid FBS teams,
yeah,
and they've shown that year in and year out that they can compete with some of the big dogs. And who says they can't play in the Big 12? The Big 12's losing Texas and Oklahoma in a couple years,
yeah,
so why don't we slide in App State? Why don't we can figure something out?
yeah. I think that'd be perfect. You could slide in App State or the team I bring in later for who should be taken out. You could swap this team with App State. And honestly, a great. I haven't gotten to watch many App State games. Usually, I'm picking another game over that, or it's just not on TV. But that UNC game, like that place was electric. Like that was a rockin', like passionate fan base.
Yes.
Not not an incredibly big stadium, but again, with if you put them in Power Five, you could probably bring some more attention there. And I don't know. I think it'd be an electric place for, like you said, like some Big 12. Bring in Oklahoma. Bring in some. I guess Oklahoma's leaving, like you said, but I don't know. I agree with that though. Um,
Plus, they had College Game Day there a couple weeks ago too.
yeah,
Like they're starting to get that national recognition a little bit, and
yeah,
just people are starting to learn and know who App State is
yeah,
and what they're all about.
yeah. So um, that's for the most part it. I think they kind of speak for themselves. I mean, probably not right away. I mean, if the Big 12 is desperate, I'd say, yeah, bring them in. But maybe give them a few more years, see if they can keep it up. But I don't know. I don't see any reason right now why they, shouldn't be, a top five pick for who do we need to bring in to strengthen our conference. I would definitely say App State.
Absolutely. Hey, I like it, Brock. I like it a lot.
Okay. Then turn it over to you. What do you got for us?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So I'm taking you out west here. I'm
Okay.
taking you to the Mountain West Conference. I got San Diego State
San
as my
Diego
team,
State. Nice.
sir, to move into preferably the Pac-12 because they're losing USC, they're losing UCLA, and I think San Diego State's better than most of that conference
Yeah.
already.
Yeah. Or at least as
But
good.
yeah, they've had a lot of success recently. They have 5 10-win seasons since 2015.
Nice, nice.
They've really shown that they are a solid program. Before 2015, they were kind of average, at least the last 15, 20 years before then. They had a lot of 7-win, 6-win seasons, some 4 and 5-win seasons as well. But now they've really put something together, and their program's on the rise. And since 2010, they have an above 500 record in bowl games as well.
Nice.
So not only are they playing well regular season, but they're taking care of business in the postseason as well.
Yeah.
So San Diego State, a lot of opportunity there, and they've actually been ranked 4 out of the last 6 years too.
Oh, I didn't even know that.
So they've kind of hovered in that 20 to 25 range,
Yeah.
but I think it could be a real hot spot for college football. They're in San Diego. They're in
Yeah.
Southern California. Like that's a great recruiting tool
Yeah.
there already. Like to tell kids like, hey, listen, you want to go play for, USC. Yeah, they're playing in the Big Ten. Listen, we're in San Diego
Yeah.
now. All right, we're like the most beautiful city in the country. We got better weather than LA.
Yeah.
It's just a better place in general, and that could be a huge recruiting tool. Just being in San Diego.
Yeah.
Uh, Plus, they're starting to get a little more funding too because of their success. And hey, I like their uniforms too. That
Me
counts
too.
for something. Yeah, look good, play good, right?
Yeah. And well, yeah, that's a good point. Like SC, oh, you want to play in the Big Ten? Like, you really want to go across the country every year to Penn State, to Michigan State, to Michigan, to Ohio State, where it's -5 degrees later in the you know season, or do you want to stay here in nice San Diego? The sun's shining, there's palm trees, like they say. You're just enjoying
Sure.
yourself.
Absolutely. And the USC's had some down years really since the Reggie Bush years.
Yeah.
This year is the first year they might actually, they poached the coach from Oklahoma.
Hmm.
So, and they poached about a lot of that roster as well.
Yes. Yeah.
So, USC might be on the rise, but listen, San Diego State up and coming, and I think they've got a lot of potential. And with a couple teams leaving the Pac-12 is kind of falling apart a little bit.
Yeah.
To get a quality team in the Pac-12, I think would be really, really useful. And on the national stage, I think they would hold up really well.
I agree with that. Did Was it San Diego State? Did they also? Was this another team that went into to face our Penn State Nittany Lions, and they had a bit of a battle? I think that was also back in maybe 2016 as
Yes,
well.
I know they played. I don't remember exactly the year, but I know they did play.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
another team that isn't scared of the moment, can go into the bigger um, stadiums in the country and just keep playing ball.
Sure.
I think that's a great pick. That's a good surprise pick. Like, I was not ready for that. I feel like if I had to say, like, the very first pick, probably, would you agree, like a Cincinnati?
Yeah, Cincinnati, Notre Dame, BYU. I think they're kind of the top three main teams you would want to bring to your conference.
Yeah.
Um, they're already, Cincinnati made the college football playoff last year.
Yeah.
Notre Dame has in the past,
Hmm.
and they already play that. They already essentially play an FBS schedule, or excuse me, a Power Five schedule,
Yeah.
along with BYU, because you know, they even play each other this year, Notre Dame and BYU.
Yeah.
But I think they're the kind of the main teams you would choose. But outside of that crew there, uh, if you didn't get to choose teams who have been to the college
Yeah.
football playoff or have had very, very good success already. I think App State, San Diego State, James Madison, a Boise State, even.
Yeah.
There's a handful of other teams out there. There's always a team in the MAC every year.
Yeah.
It's been Northern Illinois, it's been Ball State,
Yeah.
it's been Western Michigan.
Yeah. Western
There's
Michigan
always a
football
team out
team.
there.
Northern Illinois win at Nebraska a few years ago as well. Um, what about like a UCF? Like, are they still relevant? What do you think about them?
CF, another quality team that, especially being in Central Florida, there's a lot of talent in Florida. So much talent. Plus, they have the University of Florida. They have Florida State.
Yeah.
There's a lot of good rivalries down there already,
Yeah.
and UCF could be another hotspot for, hey, come join the SEC, or there's a lot of options. Come join the ACC
Yeah.
maybe.
Yeah. Exactly. That wouldn't be too hard to just integrate them right into the ACC as well.
Absolutely.
So I'd say that's pretty much all I have to say on that matter. Anything else you wanted to add?
No, I'm excited to see which Power Five team you're kicking out. You're
Okay.
kicking out the door.
All right. To me, Power Five. Before I get into the team I picked, I was gonna say Kansas, but Kansas is
Mm.
having a good year this year so far.
Can't say Kansas now.
Yeah, can't say Kansas. They're having a good year. We'll see how it ends, but undefeated right now. Then I was gonna go to Colorado, just kind of a team stuck in limbo, in my opinion, for I don't know what feels like a decade.
Mm.
Then I remember. Now this is maybe a little biased because we watch. Little hint here: a lot of Big Ten football. But to
I
me,
think I know where you're going.
to me, the just the obvious pick is the Rutgers Scarlet Knights.
I agree with you on that, Brock.
I I was like looking over. I was like, oh, they're not good. But whenever I did the research, I'm like, this is bad. And
Mm.
I know they've had issues with like their coach was fired for um, some incident with the players. Getting like there was like some of the players were arrested even. Um, but it's just they say, oh, it takes time to build up, buddy. It's been like 8 years, and it's just not good. Now, they joined the Big Ten in 2014, so that's when I decided to track their record. They had like 2014 was a decent year for Rutgers. They go 8-5, which isn't amazing, but you just joined a Power Five conference. That's better. They did have a win. They did beat Michigan, 26-24. Now this is pre-Jim Harbaugh, but still, you come into the conference and you beat Michigan. They almost beat Penn State, and things were looking good. And their coach is trying to start a rivalry. I don't know if you remember. He didn't say they were playing Penn State. He said they're playing that team from Pennsylvania. That's what it
Yep.
said on the schedule. Man, that guy looks like a real idiot now.
He does. He absolutely does.
And Rutgers, they did win their bowl game against North Carolina, 40-21, and they also that year had a win at Washington State, which was a close one, 41-38. But they would lose 56-17 to Ohio State. Now that's going to be a trend of college football. Cringe. They lose 42-24 to Nebraska, 37-0 Wisconsin, and 45-3 Michigan State. So that was their first year. Like, hey, let's keep it going. Let's see what we can do. Well, in 2015 they went 4-8, 1-7 in the Big Ten. 2016 they go 2-10. Didn't win a single Big Ten game that year, with losses like 58-0 to Ohio State. And maybe you go, hey, it's Ohio State. Who's beating them, right? That's a quality school, and it is. It's a quality program. But then 78-0 Michigan, 49-0 Michigan State, 39-0 Penn State. That's four shutouts in 1 year, man. And
It's not good.
no,
It's not a recipe for success.
no. And I think in 2015 there was the famous they had a chance against Michigan State, and they spiked the ball on fourth down to lose the game on a game-winning touchdown drive. And look, I have again all the stats from here on, just like 2021, 52-14 Ohio State, 31-13 Michigan State. Again, just like shutouts, losses, big all these losses, and their total Big Ten record since 2014 is 12-52 in the Big Ten. In 8 years, you've won one season's worth of Big Ten games. So, again, it takes time. You're not going to be a powerhouse right away, but you're getting shut out, multiple times every year. I just don't see. I don't know, and they've only played in 2 bowl games. They won that one against North Carolina, and then they lost to Wake Forest 38-10.
Rutgers is tough. I do like the general direction they're heading. I do like Greg Schiano as their coach, and I think they're at least starting to look up a little bit. But they have had some rough seasons.
Yeah.
They've had some really rough years.
Yeah.
And like you said, 2014 they went 8-5. They had some success, and they did look like there's really not many teams in the Big Ten who have just been bad every year.
Yeah.
It's like Purdue's had some down years, but the last few years they've been good. Northwestern has been in the Big Ten championship twice in recent years.
Yeah.
Minnesota looks good. Even some of these teams that may finish in the bottom of the Big Ten find themselves creeping back up, except for Rutgers.
Yes.
Yes. But yeah, it's definitely been a challenge for them. Absolutely.
And those teams like a Purdue or a Northwestern, maybe not winning a ton of games, but I don't think teams see them as like a pushover game.
Absolutely not. No, not at all.
Purdue even beat Ohio State, 2 or 3 years ago at home, and you can expect a solid game from them every time. But just again, like with all these shutouts, even more shutouts. I'm looking at my notes here, just like abysmal stats. 39-10 against Illinois. Like it just doesn't. 40-16 against Maryland. Like, yeah, it's a big uphill battle. I do think they do have. I don't have the exact number, but they do fairly well with draft picks. If I remember
Yeah,
correctly, they got some good
some
draft
talent
picks.
from Rutgers in the NFL.
Yeah, so that's a positive. But as far as just like a team in a conference, I really don't see much. We'll see how this year goes, or maybe even
Yeah.
next year. But I don't know. For me, there's just not much. Like what would you lose if you pull them out of the Power Five? Like I'd say like Sun Belt, give them Rutgers, take App State, put them in the Big Ten.
Take App State, put them in the Big Ten.
Slot them right
Hey,
in
listen,
there. Yeah.
App State's going to come in. They're going to be better than Rutgers. They're going to be better than Nebraska. They're
Yeah.
going to be better than Northwestern right
Yeah.
now. Like, listen, I'm all about it. Plus, App State had success. They beat Michigan. They almost beat Penn State
Yeah.
before.
Yeah.
Listen, they've got a track record,
And
and then I like the sounds of it. App State in the Big Ten. I mean, as a Penn State fan, don't want to play App State because
no.
they know what's going on.
Yeah.
But yeah, Rutgers has certainly been a challenge, and I didn't expect it to go this poorly for them when they did join 8 years ago. But
Yeah.
hopefully they can figure it out because as far as I'm aware, they're not leaving the Big Ten
No.
anytime soon.
No, probably
So
not. They did. I forgot to mention this, but in the COVID year 2020, they did have a win over Michigan State, but that just kind of seems like a not a maybe not a fluke per se, but just yeah, you'll get one every once in a while.
sure, for sure.
So yeah, Rutgers Scarlet Knights. Sorry to the New Jersey, just an abysmal place.
It's unfortunate. It's,
That's all I
uh,
got on that matter, though. I'd like to turn it over to you, unless you have anything else to say about Rutgers football.
no, I don't think I have anything left for Rutgers. But the team I chose, you actually did mention earlier as a team that you had thought about.
Okay.
It is Colorado.
Oh
Colorado is
yeah.
the team.
All right.
What I'm proposing is we switch Colorado and San Diego State,
Nice. Okay.
putting Colorado in the Mountain West, putting San Diego State in the Pac-12. But Colorado has been bad.
Yes.
They've not been good.
No.
They've had only one winning season since 2006. It was in 2016. They went 10-4. In 2020, they technically had a winning season. They were 4-2. There's only six
Yeah.
games,
Yeah.
and I'm like, I don't know if I want to count that because
No.
listen, Indiana was really good in the 2020 season, and they haven't been very good since.
No.
So I think it was more of a fluke than anything. But they're 0-4 right now this year. Uh, I know there's calls from all their fans right now to fire the head coach. Things aren't looking good. They released a statement. Their athletic director released a statement, acknowledging, hey, things aren't good right now, but we're sticking with this coach at least at the moment.
Yeah.
And I think fans they've lost interest, they've lost trust in that program, and I mean it's really been abysmal. Uh, so the Pac-12 is not a very good conference,
No.
especially right now.
Yeah.
And they have struggled mightily for well over a decade there. And it's a shame because you look at teams just in that general region. You look at a team like Wyoming. Wyoming has had success in the Mountain West Conference there. They had Josh Allen as their quarterback.
Yeah.
It's not impossible to win in that region. Boise State over in Idaho has had a lot of success in that area, and there's no reason that a larger school like Colorado can't even have a winning season. They
Yeah.
can't even get to a bowl game. So it is a shame, but they also have terrible uniforms in my opinion, which just doesn't help their brand whatsoever. Uh, like if you not only are you bad on the field, but you look bad doing it, that's just a recipe for disaster.
Yeah.
And but Colorado, put them in the Mountain West. Give me San Diego State in the Pac-12, and things at least look a little bit better because Colorado's playing a little bit worse teams.
Yeah.
They might go to a bowl game. That gives them time to rebuild. San Diego State can go and dominate Stanford and some of the bottom feeders of the Pac-12.
Yes, of course. And it's a shame too because a lot of good players uh, are kind of in that Arizona, western area, but the schools, aren't doing well. They haven't had a great seasons in a while, so I think a lot of those places just have trouble keeping their talent. They go, eastward to play at like a Florida or an Ohio State or something like that. So
Absolutely.
again, a team like San Diego State, maybe a little new, a little exciting. Get to see them more often. Um, yeah, Colorado. I mean, a passionate fan base and a great place for college football. Man,
It really, really is. Beautiful setting out
yeah,
there too in
yeah,
Colorado.
but
Mountains in the background. It looks good.
yeah, but
Um,
yeah, they're just like I said before. A team feels like they're just stuck in the past, or like can never really figure it out. Um,
Absolutely.
and I like forget honestly that they're in the Pac-12 sometimes. 'Cause
Yeah,
a lot of
very easy to
times,
forget.
I look at them and I am thinking like, oh, this is yeah, like a Sun Belt esque team, or they have that vibe, they have that energy. So it might be
There's
fun
just
to just pull
there,
from
there's
them.
no passion and hype around that program right now.
No.
Pac-12 after dark, and over here on the East Coast at least, uh, you're never seeing Colorado on there because they're just not good.
No.
It's not good.
Um,
Uh, a couple honorable mentions I had uh, for this category was, well, one was Rutgers. That was one of my
yep.
options.
Okay.
Kansas usually would have been one, but with their hot start, things are looking up for Kansas right now. They're undefeated at the moment,
Yeah.
so things are looking good. The other option I had was Vanderbilt down in the SEC.
Yeah.
Um, I really feel like it's just more unfair that they're in the SEC because
Yeah.
it's SEC football. It's different,
That's tough.
and it's hard to get guys to Vanderbilt down there.
hmm Especially
Um,
since one of their more famous people is Jay Cutler,
Jay
that
Cutler.
did not
That's
age
right.
super well.
I did have one other team. This is an FCS team that, listen, if they ever get the opportunity, I'd be all about it. This is Montana football.
Montana.
Okay.
Okay. Hit me up about
Montana.
Montana. I have nothing about
I'll
that
tell
one.
you what, Montana, they've had consistent FCS success, especially in like the late, or excuse me, the early 2000s. They had a lot of success, and they still do. They consistently make the FCS playoffs, but they have a great stadium.
Okay.
They've got mountains right in the background,
Yeah.
and especially when it's colder weather, it's snowing. It is a beautiful atmosphere, and their fans show up every
Nice.
game.
Yeah.
And listen, if we do have to kick Colorado out, I'll be more than happy to welcome Montana football into the FBS.
Yeah. Take out one set of mountains, bring in a new set of mountains.
Exactly. Yes. We're not going to be able to tell, but there's going to be fans showing up, and we're going to be happy about it.
Yeah. It's very tough. I was thinking it's easy for me to sit here and be like, "Oh yeah, just take that team out of the Power 5. What's the big deal?" But it is tough when we think more about how like influential per se a football program is for a school. Like
Absolutely.
with
It's a lot of
Alabama,
money.
yeah, with the success of Alabama, people are coming from all over the country, potentially the world even. Maybe that's a stretch, but potentially the world to just be a part of Alabama and be a part of that atmosphere. And we see Dabo Sweeney. He just signed that huge deal. What was it? That like $11 million deal to be the coach of Clemson football, to continue being the coach. And
A lot of money.
ever since their success, they've probably had high, tuition and a lot more people come into that school. So really, in some ways, if you take a team out of that Power Five, that could really, hurt that environment, hurt that atmosphere, hurt people coming to the
Yeah.
university.
I mean, it's certainly not the realistic option to just kick them out.
No.
But it's certainly um, it's difficult in a case like Colorado football or a case like Rutgers football when things have just not been good for an extended period of time. It's not like you can just snap your fingers and change the culture of a program. It takes years. It takes sometimes it's one coach that comes in and really sets the standard. Sometimes you have to filter through several coaches.
Yeah.
Uh, it's a long way to go. Like we've seen it with Kansas. It's taken them, a decade to get back to a potentially winning program. This is the first year that there's been hope with it.
Yeah.
So hopefully sooner rather than later, we can see some of these teams start to recover a little bit. Find the right guy to be in the position to build that culture and to turn things around. But it's certainly a lot easier said than done.
Yeah. Well, and even with Kansas, like, they got Lane Kiffin, or not Lane Kiffin, sorry, they had Les Miles. You remember that?
Yep, a
And
few years ago,
we were all like, this is it. Kansas is going to be doing pretty well. And man, that was a huge disaster there.
not go well.
No. So you just
And
never know what
but
you're going to get.
exactly, you never know. Sometimes you think you have the right guy, and it just everything gets worse,
Yes.
like with Les Miles.
Les
So
Miles. Or Scott Frost,
Scott
Nebraska.
Frost in Nebraska. Yeah, absolutely. You never know until you try, of course, but what sometimes sounds and feels like the right hire can really backfire, and
Yeah.
it can set you back a long ways.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think with a big part of college football as well as the recruiting. Again, if you were to just take a team out of the Power Five, that hurts recruiting. Now you're really scratching to find a diamond in the rough.
Hmm.
I think, and maybe we can come back to this topic, but with the expansion of the college football playoffs, maybe more teams getting a little bit more exposure that could help spread the recruiting out a bit. Maybe
For
more
sure.
people are interested in different programs. But
Agree. Yeah, 12-team playoff coming soon. I think that'll be good just to have more teams in that setting, to have a shot at even just playing in these big games can mean the world to some of these teams.
yeah,
And especially look at last year with Cincinnati, or in previous years of Boise State could have really shined in something like this.
yeah,
They had that big win against Oklahoma a long time ago. I believe in the Fiesta Bowl
yeah,
it was, and it's it certainly helps with recruiting, and it helps with just getting more money for the program and expanding and new facilities, whatever it may be. It helps tremendously, and just that exposure. They have a good season to be in a big game on national TV against maybe a Power Five school. It'll help a ton just for that exposure.
yeah, definitely. And the same thing there was UCF, the
Yeah,
self-proclaimed national champions for the
exactly.
undefeated season.
Undefeated.
Yeah. Um, the maybe the committee didn't want to risk putting American Athletic Conference team in there, a non-Power Five team in there. Now I feel like they're a little bit more open to it. So,
Mhm.
but
Yeah, it
yeah,
was Cincinnati last year. Absolutely helps those mid-major teams big time. To get a couple of them in there would be massive for just for recruiting, and to show you don't have to go, you don't have to go to some of these smaller Power Five schools just to play these bigger teams, these bigger names. If you can be in a good program outside of that and get to play them at the end of the year in a game that actually truly matters, that certainly gives a lot of hope
yeah,
for some of these smaller schools outside of the Power Five.
yeah, for sure, for sure. Um, well, I think that about does it from my end. I don't really. I'm trying to think if I had any other honorable mentions for. I said Cincinnati. I said UCF. Another
Mhm.
team that could maybe see. There's some teams. It's hard to pick like a team to kick out because there's so much. College football is so much about tradition. So sometimes I think like, oh, you could get rid of Wake Forest out of the ACC, but like again, there's so much tradition. There's so much history. Like I don't know. Does that make sense? But they're the smallest.
Yeah,
I believe they're the smallest school in the Power Five at least. That or
yeah,
Northwestern.
they, yeah, they're very very small school, but even Wake Forest has had success the last couple of years. This year, they had a really close game with Clemson last week.
Yeah.
So there's certainly there's a pathway to get there. It's just not some of these teams are not on that path
No, no, definitely
at all.
not. Yeah. And I don't know. Who knows? Maybe at the end of the year, we'll be like, oh, Rutgers did better than we think. And next year, we'll be like, oh, wow, Rutgers is ranked, which I don't know what data
Never
they have,
know.
but they're ranked. Yeah, we never know.
Never know. Anything can happen. That's the beauty of college football.
Yeah. Well, that's about all I've got, unless there's anything else you wanted to add.
Uh, I'll shout out one more team real quick.
Okay.
UTSA, University of Texas San
Okay.
Antonio.
I like this pick.
Uh,
Yeah, I like this pick.
uh, they hired Jeff Traylor as their coach, who has been fantastic for them. He hit the transfer portal really, really hard and really well. And he's probably going to continue doing it for an extended period of time
Yeah.
to get some of these kids who maybe didn't pan out at some of these bigger schools. But he showed that last year there's a roadmap to success through the transfer portal. And even for a small school like UTSA, they were really good. They were ranked last year at one
Yeah.
point. So that's another team I wanted to mention real quick too. They're still early on in their success, but hey, if Traylor can do it. He's all in. He's committed. Signed an extension with them. So it's cool to see something like that at a smaller school.
Yeah. UTSA a few years ago, they did beat the Baylor Bears.
Hmm.
Matt Rule was the coach of Baylor, and UTSA went in
Right.
and they won that game. Earlier this year, I tried to call an upset. It didn't quite pan out, but I was like, "Oh, UTSA beats Houston." Earlier this year, it took overtime, but Houston
Hmm.
ended up winning that game, but 37 to 35.
Crazy game.
Yeah, which is
Really good
why I
game.
say that's a really good. Like,
Yeah, UTSA sleeper team, but they've they've turned around that culture,
yeah,
which is really difficult to do. They've done it really quickly, but I think they just got the right guy for that program, and you can see the immediate effects of it.
yeah, I agree with that. That's another good. Just like I would have never thought of UTSA.
Mhm.
Yeah, those are all my picks though. Thank you for everyone. Thank you to everyone for watching. Excuse me. Be sure to do all the usual like, subscribe, all of that. Tell your friends. Tell your friends' friends.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My name's Brock.
Plus,
Anything else for you, Nisley?
yeah, leave a comment if you have anything that you want to talk about or any comments on what we talked about too.
Yeah.
We'd be more than happy to discuss it with you. But yeah, I appreciate you know you allow me to co-host with you, Brock.
Of
It
course.
means a lot to me,
I couldn't think of
and
anyone else.
and I'm excited to do this again in the future with you.
Yeah, like Nisley said though, like if you think there's another team we didn't mention that deserves to go in or deserves to be kicked out, yeah, leave it in the comments. I'd love to hear the different discussions on that. But with all that, my name's Brock, and
My name's Hunter.
this is Hunter, and this has been
Our
our
podcast.
podcast. Yes. Thanks for everyone watching, and we'll see you next time.
Sir.